It's Christmas, 1986. I'm 7 years old. We're at my grandma's house. I've opened everything I thought I was getting, and then my parents hand me one more box, bigger than the rest. I start tearing it open. I can already see Nintendo. I'd played it at friends' houses. Everyone on the playground was talking about it, and now it was mine. I still remember the smell, plastic and styrofoam. Nintendo had this chemical smell that would take me right back to that room. The old cabinet with two dials. Back when TVs sat on the floor. And that clunk when you tugged the button and the TV roared to life like a storm rolling in. Let's go, Mario. Quick note before we get rolling, the gameplay you're watching was recorded earlier. I'm not pretending I'm playing live while I talk. I wanted the run clean so I could tell the story without being distracted. This early part is where everything begins. No tutorials, no explanations. The game teaches you by consequence. You don't learn because someone tells you. You learn because the levels make you. This Warp to World 3, back then, this was playground currency. If you knew the warp zones, you knew the game. And if you didn't, you were always one conversation behind. You weren't playing Mario, you were trying to keep up with knowledge. And level 4 wasn't always the answer. Sometimes it was World 3. And when you grow inside the game a little, you start learning the shortcuts, the tricks, the stuff only you find out because someone else shows you. And that's what made it powerful. It didn't care how old you were. It didn't care what you wanted. It only cared what you could do. Back then, I didn't have a word for it. But looking back, this was my first experience with a fair system. Put time in, you get better. You don't get better by wishing, you get better by doing it over and over again. First thing that gets me right here. There goes the fire flower. And that's a real Mario lesson. One hit can change the entire pace. But you don't panic, you recover, you keep moving, because the game doesn't care what you almost had. All right, this is it. The Freeman Stairs. This was legendary when I was a kid, not because it was flashy, but because it changed how the game felt. Once you could build lives, the game stopped feeling like a threat. You could fail without it being the end of everything. And that's the difference between surviving a game and owning it. Owning it means you can choose whatever matters. You can stay here and farm, or you can move on. I could have pushed for more, but I'm not here to prove I can stand still. I'm here to prove I can control the whole run. For a stretch of time, I was the best Nintendo player I knew. Not internet best, best in my world. And that sounds small, but it didn't feel small when you were 7. It felt like being the champion of something real. Today, kids almost never get that same experience because the internet shows you 1,000 people better than you before you've ever built confidence. Back then, your world was small enough that mastery felt reachable. This is when it stops being nostalgia and becomes muscle memory. You're not thinking about every jump anymore. Your hands start doing it. And when you get clipped, the difference isn't whether you got hit. The difference is how fast you reset. How fast you get back to the plan. That's the real skill. World 4 always felt like the grown-up part of the game. Like the game stops being cute and starts being serious. And here's a weird thing I still remember about 4-1. If you keep running, that green booger in the sky can't set the spike traps in your way. So I run. And when I slow down for a second in the middle, that's a choice. Sometimes the fastest thing you can do is play smart for 5 seconds. And if you take them out, the whole level relaxes. The game gives you breathing room if you earn it. Here in World 4-2, I'm moving fast, and then I slow down on purpose, because I'm not just trying to survive, I'm trying to arrive at the warp the right way. It takes a little setting up. That's another lesson I didn't have words for as a kid. Control isn't rushing, control is choosing when to rush. 8-1 is long, but it is not chaos, it's patience. This is where you can prove you can stay clean. Staying clean isn't luck, it's attention. It's not getting bored and doing something careless. It's staying calm and keeping on. This was the first thing in my life I knew I could beat adults at. And I think that planted something in me early. Time turns into skill. This is where the game starts asking questions, and that's the first death. But I want to say this out loud. 11 minutes in, playing fast, and I didn't die once before World 8. I'm proud of that. Because that's the difference between I can beat this game and I still know this game. This is the part you don't skip. This is where it gets earned. After that, it's execution. You don't get emotional, you don't panic. You keep the plan and you keep moving. This is where old Mario is brutal in a good way. It punishes impatience, it rewards calm. This isn't exploring anymore. This is proving you know it. When I was a kid, there were 3 ways we played this game. Straight through. That was at the beginning. You didn't know all the tricks then. You went level by level to see how far you could get. Then, on the playground, we heard of the free man trick. At a staircase where you jumped up and down, up and down, up and down. Then towards the end, it was all about the speed. Speed running. How fast you could get through this thing. Same game, very different mindsets. And dying right before Bowser, that one hurts because you can taste the finish line. This is the price of finishing. At that point, it's simple. One more. No panic. Same level, same pressure, different attempt. I haven't beaten this game in at least 30 years, maybe closer to 40, and I just did. And what's wild is it still feels the same. The stakes are smaller now, but the feeling is real, because the lessons still work. This game wasn't just a game to me. It was the first system I ever figured out. The first time I understood that if you put the time in, you can master something. And if I'm going to tell the story of the games that built me, there was only one place to start. So yeah, I've got a lot of love for this one.